It's almost like I was born on a tractor. It's hard to stay away from farming for me, because I really enjoy it. And I have a lot of knowledge about farming, but I don't get to use it. I wish I had somebody I could pass what I know on to somebody else. That would really make me feel good. But there's so few people that are interested, you know.
A number of farmers, both children of farm families and people who are new to farming, are trying to make a go of farming in Connecticut's northwest corner. Some are working the dairy farms that traditionally filled the area, or growing vegetables in traditional ways. And some are experimenting with more humane ways of raising animals and new ways of farming vegetables, resulting in healthier vegetables that at the same time do not harm the natural nutrients in the soil. No two pieces of farmland are exactly alike. Each has its unique soil composition, capacity to retain moisture, and exposure to sun. And each piece of farmland must be farmed a little differently. We start with early spring. Farmland in the northwest corner has spent much of the winter under snow, even while being enriched by cover crops meant to replace lost nutrients in the soil.
Marble Valley, which is the historic name for this area, that's to say the valley that the Housatonic River cut. The bedrock is marble, and when that erodes over time, that becomes lime. So the soil is already pre-sweetened, and it's the perfect pH for vegetables.
It is March, with snow still on the ground, when Connecticut farmers begin harvesting their first crop, maple syrup. The harvest will continue as long as the nights still bring frost and the daytime temperatures rise into the 40s.
1,600, we have about 1,600 trees back in the woods that are all connected on a vacuum system in the mud. This is all raw sap that's coming out of the woods right now. You can see we're pumping it out at a pretty good rate there. And so, if you get a picture of this, it's pretty cool. Out of the, from underneath all these trees, it's stored sugar. It's about 1 or 2% sugar, 99% water.
April brings us Paley's Farm Market, with its assistance to local gardeners and weekend farmers. They offer flower and vegetable seedlings, topsoil and manure, as well as the first offerings of bushes and small trees, along with a long summer of locally grown fruits, berries, and vegetables. It's spring for animals as well as plants, and some animals arrive compliments of the United States Postal Service.
But you want to do the animal justice all the way through to the time that it's on the plate.
I love that expression. It's a beautiful expression, doing the animal justice all the way through.
Yeah.
It suggests, caring for it in the soil, caring for it in the food, giving it a good life.
So I really think that there are endless ways to market the product and to educate the consumer, and really I've just scratched the surface.
These guys are our dairy herd replacements. These are all heifers. We bring them in here, keep them separated so that they can't pass diseases to each other.
Social distancing for cows.
Social distancing for cows. And they're fed 3 times a day. They're checked probably 6 times a day to look for anybody that's off. You want a calf that's looking at you and twirling her head and licking her, So they're pretty friendly, most of them.
Spring also gives new life to the soil, which is loosened to take new seeds. Sometimes farmers have collected them from their own past vegetables.
one of the what I thought was a good idea of growing hops is that your market is very defined. It's not like, having to go around and hawk your wares at a farmer's market or, go to some state ag buyer. You have a very simple group of customers. They're people that brew beer, that's it. That's really the only use for hops. And in Connecticut there are, I believe, at least 140 craft brewers. It's a state that really has embraced local brewing and brew houses.
So all this growth is from the spring. So we have like 7 trees here, and these ones on the ends are an earlier variety, so these big 2 are coming in now. They have a nice bigger.
But some late plants, like tomatoes, which need warmth, are usefully planted in greenhouses. These days, farmers in the northwest corner have 2 critical challenges: finding niches and opportunities for sales at a price that allows them to survive economically, and caring for animals and the earth amidst climate change. The percentage of family income spent on food has dropped steadily since 1900, when families spent about 40% of their disposable income on food, according to the USDA. As a result of intentional Department of Agriculture policies that supported the industrialization of agriculture, by 1950, the percentage that families spent on food was down to just under 30%. Although food costs have increased over the years, so has family income, and agricultural policies have helped the percentage spent on food continue to decline. In 2020, the share of the family budget spent on food reached a historic low, with U.S. families spending 8.6% of their disposable personal income on food. Divided between food at home, 5%, and food away from home, 3.6%. Though some express pride that food can be produced so efficiently at so low a cost, there has been an incalculable loss to small farmers.
While the minimum wage is doubling, and mind you, labor is my biggest cost. It's not like it's just some sort of peripheral cost. I can't at the same time double my prices of food. First of all, I just don't think people would buy. Second of all, and why not? Because they have an alternative in the cheap food coming from Mexico and California. But it's also that the people who could afford it would be the top 5 to 10% in terms of income. And I'm not really here just to cater to such a small stratum of people in my community. As a farmer, I particularly have, even I would call it a moral interest in keeping my prices low enough for everyone in the community to afford what we grow.
Human-caused climate change is now affecting large industrial farming, as well as small farmers and farming, in both disastrous and manageable ways.
I said, the sky looks so weird, Chris. I'm going home. And he said, all right, I'm right behind you. And I didn't even make it to Charlie's house. And I pulled in his driveway because I was so scared. This is the site of the greenhouse that was got the most damage. We did not have insurance on the greenhouses. So they're very expensive to insure, similar to trying to insure a mobile home.
Overall, that the climate has made the seasons more or less predictable. We used to tap in the middle of February, and we used to be finished by the first week in March. Now, some years we produce syrup in early February. This year we produced hardly anything in February and here we are in mid-March and we still haven't made much because it's been colder. So the weather being more erratic means when it comes, you have to be ready for it, or you may miss it. The impact that I've seen over my lifetime is that we're having less severe winters. I mean, you can argue how severe, less, but they're not the winters they used to be, and that's not just nostalgia. That's fact. And one of the facts, because the University of Vermont and Cornell studied this, because this is a big part of the economy in rural New York and New England. And so this is an important thing. So those universities studied this, and what they found is because the winters aren't as strong and as cold, the trees don't freeze as hard. And what makes the pressure to bring the sap up is that pressure in the trees. So what we do now is we put a vacuum onto the sap lines to draw the sap out of the trees. So we get the same amount of sap, but that way, like, we can run our machines and extract the sap even if the weather is not as reliable as it was years ago.
Beyond making life economically difficult for small farmers, efficient food production through industrial farming has had disastrous effects on the quality of what we eat, the lives of our food animals, and the quality of our soil. Nevertheless, a number of small farmers in our area are taking farming in new directions. Whether or not they go to the expense of having their farm declared organic, they are treating livestock humanely and growing crops in ways that sustain and even build the quality of the soil.
To the food waste, this is all coming from the retreat center and from the Kellogg Elementary School here in town. We take all their food waste and we pile it all up and we add leaves, and the chickens dig in there and they're very happy. Our approach is really about partnering with the world around us to produce food, and really seeing the land as a partner, as we really have the need to, how should I say, I think our approach is really about listening.